You open your phone for a few seconds. A friend got promoted. Someone else is traveling across the world. Another person seems happier, healthier, richer, and somehow more interesting than you. But the real answer is far stranger. The strange part is that your brain was never designed to compare itself to millions of people. It was designed to compare itself to a few dozen. That difference changes everything. Right now, your mind is performing a task that helped your ancestors survive for hundreds of thousands of years. The problem is that it is doing that ancient task inside a completely modern world. And the result is a feeling that follows you almost everywhere. Comparison. You may think comparison is a bad habit. You may think it is a personal weakness. It feels that way sometimes. But comparison is not an accident. It is one of the oldest features of the human mind. Imagine living in a small hunter-gatherer band. There are no cities, no nations, no social media, no celebrity culture. Your entire world consists of perhaps 50 people. In that environment, knowing where you stood mattered enormously. Who was respected, who had allies, who was trusted, who was skilled at hunting, who shared food, who attracted partners. These questions were not about vanity, they were about survival. Humans evolved as intensely social creatures. For most of history, being excluded from a group could be deadly. A person alone faced hunger, predators, disease, and violence with far fewer chances of surviving. That meant your ancestors needed a way to constantly monitor their social position. The mind developed tools for exactly that purpose. One of those tools was comparison. Your brain learned to look around and ask a simple question. How am I doing relative to everyone else? The psychologist Leon Festinger gave this tendency a name in 1954. He called it social comparison theory. His idea was surprisingly simple. When objective measurements are unavailable, people evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to others. In other words, if there is no clear scoreboard, your brain creates one. And social life rarely comes with a scoreboard. How attractive are you? How successful are you? How respected are you? How intelligent are you? There is no universal answer. So your brain looks sideways. It looks at other people. That tendency did not appear recently. It is deeply rooted in human evolution. Anthropologists studying small-scale societies repeatedly find that status influences access to resources, support, and mating opportunities. Across many cultures, social position affects daily life in powerful ways. Your ancestors who paid attention to these signals often made better decisions. They noticed threats, they noticed opportunities, they adapted. The people who ignored social information entirely may have struggled. Over thousands of generations, comparison became automatic. That is why it feels effortless today. You do not decide to compare. It simply happens. A friend announces good news, a coworker receives praise, a stranger posts a perfect photograph. Before conscious thought even begins, your brain is already calculating. Where does that leave me? The fascinating part is that comparison itself is not necessarily harmful. Sometimes it helps. If you watch someone develop a useful skill, you may feel motivated. If you see someone achieve a goal, you may learn what is possible. Comparison can provide information. It can even inspire growth. The problem emerges when an ancient mechanism encounters modern conditions. Your ancestors compared themselves to dozens of people. You compare yourself to billions. That is a completely different challenge. The human brain never evolved for global comparison. It evolved for local comparison. Yet, every day technology exposes you to extraordinary individuals from every corner of the planet. You see elite athletes, world-class entrepreneurs, professional models, award-winning artists, financial prodigies, genius researchers. And they all appear side by side on the same screen. Your brain treats these encounters as meaningful social information. But the information is deeply distorted. Imagine walking into a room where every person was selected because they were among the most successful individuals in a particular category. One person is richer than almost everyone. Another is more attractive than almost everyone. Another is more talented than almost everyone. You would leave feeling average at best. Social media creates that room every day. Only now the room never closes. Researchers such as Sherry Turkle have explored how digital technologies reshape social experience. The environment surrounding modern comparison is unlike anything humans encountered throughout most of history. Your brain receives constant signals. It never receives context. You see outcomes. You rarely see struggles. You see achievements. You rarely see failures. You see finished products. You rarely see the years of effort that produce them. This creates a dangerous illusion. Everyone else appears to be moving forward while you remain still. But that impression is often false. The psychologist Shelley Taylor studied positive illusions and the ways people interpret reality. Human beings do not simply observe the world, they construct narratives about it. When comparison enters the picture, those narratives can become surprisingly distorted. You begin comparing your private experience to someone else's public image. That is an impossible contest. You know every insecurity you carry. You know every mistake you made. You know every fear you hide. Meanwhile, you see only a carefully selected fraction of another person's life. The comparison feels fair. It is not. There is another reason comparison becomes so powerful. Your brain pays special attention to status. From an evolutionary perspective, status often predicted access to resources and cooperation. Higher status could bring advantages. Lower status could create risks. Because of this, the mind became highly sensitive to relative differences. Notice the word relative, not absolute. This distinction matters enormously. Studies by researchers such as Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that people frequently evaluate outcomes relative to reference points rather than objective conditions. Your brain cares less about what you have than where you stand. That sounds strange. Yet it explains countless experiences. A person earning more money than ever before can still feel dissatisfied. A successful professional can still feel inadequate. A talented artist can still feel invisible. Why? Because comparison shifts the reference point. Every time the target moves, satisfaction moves with it. You climb one mountain, then your attention immediately finds a taller mountain. The cycle continues. This phenomenon appears throughout human history. Ancient kings compared themselves to rival kings. Merchants compared themselves to other merchants. Warriors compared themselves to other warriors. The details changed. The psychology remained remarkably similar. What changed dramatically was scale. For most of human existence, social information traveled slowly. Today it travels instantly. A single device can expose you to more people in one afternoon than many ancestors encountered during entire years. Your comparison machinery operates continuously. It never gets a break. This helps explain why feelings of inadequacy can emerge even during objectively positive periods of life. Nothing may be wrong, yet comparison quietly manufactures dissatisfaction. The mind notices what others possess. It ignores what it already has. Psychologists sometimes call this adaptation. Humans rapidly adjust to improvements. What once felt extraordinary becomes normal. What once felt exciting becomes expected. Soon attention shifts elsewhere. The next goal, the next achievement, the next comparison. The result resembles a treadmill. You keep moving. The destination keeps moving too. Yet comparison is not purely destructive. It exists because it serves functions. The key is understanding how to use it rather than being controlled by it. One useful distinction involves upward and downward comparison. Upward comparison occurs when you compare yourself to someone who appears better off in a particular area. Downward comparison occurs when you compare yourself to someone worse off. Both influence emotions differently. Upward comparison can motivate, it can also discourage. Downward comparison can create gratitude, it can also create complacency. Neither is inherently good or bad. The effect depends on interpretation. If another person's success becomes evidence that improvement is possible, comparison can energize action. If it becomes evidence that you are permanently inadequate, comparison becomes harmful. The external event remains identical. The meaning changes. That realization reveals something important. Comparison is not only about other people, it is about the stories your brain creates. And those stories are often incomplete. Consider another possibility. What if the most meaningful comparison is not between you and strangers? What if it is between you and your earlier self? This idea appears in many philosophical traditions. It also aligns surprisingly well with psychological research. Your life has unique circumstances, unique challenges, unique opportunities. No other person shares the exact combination. That makes direct comparison difficult. The variables are simply too different. Yet your past self provides a more useful reference point. Are you learning? Are you growing? Are you becoming more capable? Are you developing qualities that matter to you? These questions shift attention away from competition and toward development. The focus changes. The emotional experience changes too. Interestingly, humans may never completely eliminate comparison. Nor should they. Comparison helped your ancestors navigate social worlds. It helped them learn. It helped them cooperate. It helped them survive. The goal is not to erase the mechanism. The goal is to understand it. Once you recognize what your brain is doing, the process becomes easier to manage. You notice the comparison. You notice the story attached to it. You notice whether that story reflects reality. Sometimes it does. Often it does not. And that awareness creates freedom. The next time you scroll through a stream of accomplishments, your brain will probably begin comparing. That is normal. The next time someone reaches a milestone before you do, comparison may appear again. That is normal too. You are witnessing an ancient survival system attempting to make sense of a modern world. The system is old. The environment is new. The mismatch explains much of the discomfort. For hundreds of thousands of years, comparison helped humans find their place inside small tribes. Today, the same mechanism tries to locate your place among billions of people. No wonder it struggles. No wonder it sometimes makes you feel behind. Yet the feeling itself contains an important clue. It reveals that you are carrying a mind shaped by ancient social realities, a mind that constantly searches for belonging, a mind that constantly measures relationships, a mind that wants to understand where it fits. So the next time you open your phone for a few seconds, remember what is really happening. You are not simply looking at other people. You are watching one of the oldest instincts in human history trying to solve a problem it was never designed to face. And that friend who got promoted, that traveler crossing the world, and that stranger who seems to have everything are not just people on a screen. They are mirrors your ancient brain automatically creates. Because comparison was never really about them. It was always about helping you find your place. And now, in a world larger than your ancestors could have imagined, the challenge is learning that your place cannot be discovered by measuring everyone else. Just as you opened your phone for a few seconds, your ancestors once looked around a campfire searching for where they stood. The instinct is the same, only the world became bigger.